As you clicked on this video, you probably have different notifications pop up on your screen. Different text messages, emails, or you will pretty soon as you watch this video. Our attention span is scattered to an unprecedented degree as I discuss with you the ever important and timely topic of training our attention. I'm going to share with you how you can train your attention and energy as well. Because as we are bombarded with an unprecedented amount and formats of data, information, and news bites, they can unfortunately lead to fatigue, lack of productivity. In this video, I'll review a new book by Dr. Joseph Cardillo that's called 12 Rules of Attention. But before I do, I'm going to share an anecdote with you to demonstrate just how our brain creates patterns, attentional patterns and mechanisms that can have quite varying consequences, that can be costly and amusing in my case. In March, I attended a conference right as the pandemic was beginning. It was in Miami. When I realized just how serious everything was becoming, I decided to leave the conference early, one day early, and come back to New York. Because if it were the last days, I wanted to spend them with my family, my loved ones. And upon arrival at home, my wife at this point is already prepared. She has stocked up on sanitizers, on alcohol swabs, and so forth. She takes my suitcase, empties it, and keeps it in the entry of the doorway, and empties the suitcase, which was full of my best suits, my new winter jacket that was a gift from my family, all my clothes basically. And she puts them in a trash bag. She tells me, "Can you take it to the dry cleaners tomorrow? You can also put it in the car right now." I was too lazy, too tired to put it in the car. Next morning, after a full night of sleep, I get up early, I go downstairs early in the morning, and I actually want to take out the trash early this time so that I don't get any comments and any criticism from anyone in my family. And I take out the trash bags from the kitchen as well as this trash bag, thinking that it's trash from the living room and right in the front near the door. Well, I end up throwing away not just trash, but my best suit and many other clothes. This happened because of the pattern, the association that my brain had formed with the trash bags, trash being in a trash bag. Sometimes we have to challenge our patterns, we have to modify our patterns, and we have to teach our brain how to develop new patterns so that we're more attentive and we're more productive as we multitask. Dr. Joseph Cardillo is a psychologist, a martial artist as well. He's a researcher of the mind, body, and science in general. The first point that you need to learn is how to pay attention to how you pay attention. How to actually record what your attention level is at different times of the day. And that's the first specific tip that he shares. Throughout the day, choose 3 different times of the day and keep a diary. Choose the times when you're most attentive, when you're almost there, and when you are completely scattered and you don't have any focus. You've lost your attention span. Record those instances in a diary. Keep a journal for a week, for a month, and then trace back to what had taken place during those times, and you can record them as well, so that you can better understand how you pay attention. When are you most effective in paying attention? Remember that we pay attention based on those memories and those experiences that we build already, that we are aware. Our brain becomes aware of the sensory experiences it has already lived through and analyzed. So we are more likely to pay attention to those things that we have previously been aware of. So, in that context of awareness, Dr. Joseph Cardillo differentiates three very trendy topics that coaches discuss, which are awareness, mindfulness, and attention. So awareness is being aware that I'm discussing the attention span in this video. Being aware that there is this whiteboard behind me, for example. Or being aware that someone in your family is watching TV. Yet, it's somewhere in the background, and your brain has already created that pattern, and so you're still able to work in your office on the second floor. Or you're self-aware, for example, of your strengths or your weaknesses. You're aware that you become very defensive when someone interrupts you in a business meeting. That's not sufficient for you to change behavior, however. By focusing on your brain patterns and rhythms, which make things easier to remember, you're able to change your behavior. It's not enough to be aware. You need to develop a plan of action. And that plan of action is through your mindfulness. So mindfulness is what Dr. Cardillo calls the energy of presence. So you may be present here. You may be viewing this video right now. But you may have varying levels of energy or focus on what I'm talking about and how you can use what I'm talking about in this video, for example. You need to visualize how you can apply what I'm telling you in this video in order to give your presence energy. So that's what mindfulness, and that's how mindfulness is different from awareness. Mindfulness is somewhat like visualization or a plan of action for what you're going to do with what you see. And then third, and most important, is your ultimate attention span. Because your attention is the focus of your lens. It's how you sharpen your focus so that you're able to see not just the whiteboard, but because you're mindful of the whiteboard, and you actually can pick out one part of the whiteboard, for example, this word, attention, that has red shadows, right? It's shadowed in red and black. And therefore, if you focus on it more, you can actually see more details about this whiteboard. You can pay more attention to it because you've visualized it, and you can also act upon it. Because with attention, with your focus of your lens, you can actually act on that plan of action that you have visualized. So attention is what Dr. Joseph Cardillo refers to as the electrochemical fetching mechanism, which calls up these scouts, what he calls scouts, to fetch that information that you've sharpened your focus on, and to actually create a reaction to it. Consolidate a pattern that will make your reactions automated. So automation is part of sports, technique, and martial arts, as he mentions. Because in martial arts, you're able to quickly react immediately to different types of opponents because you've practiced them, you've visualized them before. In sports, you have a critical factor to success, which is practice and rehearsals. Professionals differentiate themselves from amateurs not just in their skills, their talents, but in their practice as well. Sports athletes know how to visualize, and when they visualize, they practice. In fact, there's data that shows that visualization is equivalent to practice sometimes, to physical practice. Martial artists have those automated movements that they develop over time. These are reactions. They're reactions that are the product of your brain developing such important repetitive patterns, you react subconsciously. and you're able to pay attention to something immediately, which can also create bias as well. But the important point to remember is that sports athletes are known for how they visualize crossing the finish line. Some of the best examples of sports athletes that maximize visualization are Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was outspoken, and he was very well known for his poems that he used to write and used to recite. I'll share one of them with you. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. You can't hit what you can't see. It has a rhyme, it's easy to remember, and it's a pattern. It's a brain pattern that he was telling himself and also coaching others. Another important quote that I use a lot on Alloutcoach from Muhammad Ali is this: I only count my sit-ups when they start to hurt. Sports athletes are flexible in terms of changing their behavior, breaking new personal records. And that's what we have to teach ourselves in this attention deficit environment in which we live. We can actually train our brain to change how it reacts in certain situations, such as when we're interrupted by someone and we want to be a little bit more professional in our response, for example. And in order to do that, Joseph Cardillo refers to humans being able to create mental movies. In order to do that, we have to create a mental movie, as Joseph Cardillo says. We have to visualize that next time that we are interrupted, and then verbalize our response, and not just once, but several times. Because in order to remove something from our brain patterns, from our attentional mechanisms of the brain, it's not enough to just visualize something once or to practice something once. We need to actually do it several times, many times, repeatedly, until those scouts leave and they go to a different place. And as a result, we have a new pattern that's developed and a new focus of our attention. So removing something from our memory, from our attention, is just as important as consolidating it as well and focusing on it. Humans are unique species that are able to visualize hypothetical events and act them out, create these mental movies, as Dr. Joseph Cardillo calls them. Rodents, apparently, based on his research that he cites, apparently can understand regret. Regret is something that many coaches and leaders tell us not to worry about and to let go of our past completely and to forget regrets because it renders us weak. Well, I disagree, as Dr. Joseph Cardillo also disagrees to some extent, because apparently when you regret something, you're able to recall a memory and you can then modify your behavior in the future. So regret is an important aspect of your attention as well in the future, in terms of what your biases will be acting upon or not. Bees, for example, different animals, they are able to process color as their trigger of attention better than humans or other species. They see a particular color, and that's their stimulus for paying attention. The next topic that I'm going to talk about is energy management. Our energy and our disposition impacts how attentive we are at different times of the day, different times in general. It turns out that when we're jumpy, when we're full of energy, we're excited, our attention can get scattered. To the same extent as when we are fatigued, when we're tired, when we're very mellow, we're indifferent, our attention span is very low. It's non-existent on the other end of the spectrum. So that's why the energy level has to be appropriate and balanced for us to be as attentive as possible. And so sometimes our mindfulness and our own attention training is not enough. We must concede. And that's why we can resort to some external resources, such as music, for example, different types of songs, art, poetry, writing, which actually plays hand in hand with our sensory experience as well and allows us to focus on attention. There's a lot of data that shows that students who play music are also great at math, for example. They're very attentive. Physicians talk about music therapy, and on grand rounds that I've attended, and they use music therapy to treat their patients, various patient conditions. Our energy can benefit from different types of songs as well. Dr. Joseph Cardillo talks about BPMs, beats per minute. Every song has its own distinct beats per minute rate. When it's less than 100, it's going to decrease your energy level and calm you down. When it's over 100, apparently, when it's 200, for example, and above, it actually increases your energy. So you can utilize the BPM rate to guide your attention, to strengthen your attention span. You can look up the BPM rate of your favorite song, for example, and create a playlist that is ordered in increasing level or decreasing level of BPMs in order to increase your energy gradually or decrease it over time. In business, we have to be flexible with the kinds of focus we use in our lens. Sometimes we have to have a wide focus so that we provide a global vision for our teams, for our employees, and at other times we need to adapt very quickly. To be agile, have a narrow focus, to zoom in on something, to be closer to what that sales rep is encountering in his territory, in her territory. What are the questions that they're being asked? Or what resource are they lacking in order to increase their sales? Even if you are a CEO or you're in the board of directors. And you have to go back and forth and change swiftly from wide and narrow at different times. When you're adaptable, when you're flexible, and you can train your attention to modify your behavior and be productive. Distracting yourself is important. As you are bombarded with so many different types and formats of notifications, you get that notification fatigue, Zoom fatigue. Even if you're the most organized person in the world, chances are you're going to miss some meetings in the kind of environment in which we're living today. And so, Dr. Joseph Cardillo talks about the importance of squashing certain information. He uses the word squashing. You need to learn how to distract certain areas of your brain or sources of your attention so that you can be more productive on others, those that matter. Those are some of the highlights from his book. Joseph Cardillo has written many books. He's cited widely across the United States in many different newspapers. In an interview, he mentioned what inspired him. The first reason why he wrote the book was because he saw some statistics that were striking that showed that the corporate industry in general in the United States loses $650 billion every year due to lack of attention. This is particularly pronounced in healthcare. For example, medication errors, healthcare errors that lead to tragedies at times. The second reason why he wrote the book was to address the gap in our next generation of leaders. Because he saw data that showed that the attention span of college students entering the workforce today has decreased significantly in a majority of them. And the third and the final reason why he wrote this book is because he saw some unprecedented statistics. 82% of the United States workforce, employees, feel like their talent, their skills, and their strengths are being wasted, that their leaders are not paying attention to them. Therefore, training your attention, managing your own attention and your brain patterns and rhythms can have a wide array of implications and benefits on many aspects of your life, of your business that you're building as well. Let me know how you're going to apply some of these techniques, some of these tips. Comment below. Like, share, and subscribe to Alloutcoach. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.